That's no moon. It's a space station.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Just a few quick reminders before we get started. If you're interested in joining us in Hawaii in 2026 on the Big Island, we have tickets still available for our conference/retreat at journeytotruth.online. All the information is there. We're getting ready to announce the speaker lineup. We're going to be going out and having some adventures with dolphins and whales and going to some sacred sites. And it's going to be very activating, and we're extremely excited. I went to an event there in 2019, and it was a life-changing, quite literally. And the whole idea is to recreate that for everyone else who hasn't been there. So if you feel compelled to join us, you can go to journeytotruth.online, and all the information is there. And we will be updating it with more information shortly. So we hope to see you there. And today is a very special episode for us. If you may have noticed, we are joined by Melissa Morton, who is Sean David Morton's wife, who had recently passed. And he is the author of the Sands of Time book series, which is a game changer as far as the disclosure community goes, in my opinion. I think they're some of the most important books ever written, to be honest. And we interviewed Sean twice a couple years ago, and he very generously just mailed us his first book. And I think, Aaron, you started reading it. We kind of let it sit on the shelf for a while, and Aaron started reading it, and he called me up. He's like, "Dude, you got to read this book." I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah,
And I didn't really quite understand what was between those covers, and it's life-changing information, game-changing, and it changes a history, actually. And
real
yeah,
quick to interrupt. I would say I had never heard of it, but I actually did. I heard of it from Sean when he was. So I watched his interview with Michael Sala. I don't know, maybe 3 years back or however long back, and I remember him saying the two UFO books you absolutely need are The Day After Roswell and Sands of Time, and I remember at the time being like, "Oh, Sands of Time, I've never heard of that one. Like, who wrote that?" And I didn't know it was like his own book.
right,
And then he sends us. I was like, "Oh, it's his book that he
right.
said." But then I started reading it, and I was like, my mind was blown. I was just like, "What is this? This is amazing!"
So
Like
yeah,
it took a bit to get started, because it's like a story. It's not like a normal UFO
right.
kind of book. It's like an actual novel. It's a
Well,
story.
well, this is what it amounts to
And
right
there's
now.
7 books out.
7 books, and so we're gonna get into that a lot more, but, so Sean wrote these books, and he passed away before the last 2 could even, be released, and, Melissa's in the process of editing those so they can get out to the public, and this is her first solo interview without Sean since he's passed, and we're very excited to have you with us today, Melissa, so welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and thank you for being patient with me just in case today. But thank you. That's high praise. I really appreciate those comments about his books. He really did put his heart and soul into them.
Yeah, and
I
so
can
we'll
tell.
dive into some of that material, but I just wanna kinda briefly read through your, bio just to give our audience an idea of kinda what you're up to today. So, you're a spiritual, intuitive, empath, writer, truth seeker with a deep passion for the unseen worlds. After the passing of her husband, Sean David Morton, her life entered a new chapter, one shaped by spirit, communication, and paranormal investigations. So, I think you're in the process of writing your own book now, and you're tapping into some of your abilities, and we're gonna get into all that and kinda see what you're up to today. But before we do that, I guess we will just take a moment and honor Sean and his bravery and thank him for everything that he's done. And I'm sure he's right here with us right now, watching over your shoulder. And I'm sure he's proud of you for doing this and very happy that you're continuing his legacy because uh, I I don't believe. Well, I won't get into that yet, but I don't believe anything is a coincidence.
Right.
And I think that he is very proud to have somebody like you to continue his mission because it's important.
It is. Thank you. And yes, as we were kind of talking before the show, he's constantly knocking on my head. Get those books done. Get those books done. Come on, get going, get going. 3 o'clock in the morning. Just stop already, please. I need some sleep. But yes, so I have had some communications with him, and as we will discuss later, very, very a huge believer that the veil is thin, it's getting thinner, and his work is very important. It always has been, but even more so now. And just a little bit before he passed, and we were he had a tracheostomy, so he really couldn't speak, so he would write, and got to the point where I knew his hand signals, various things. But the week before he passed, he was very lucid, and we had a wonderful conversation. Of course, again, he's writing things down, where I promised that, "Yes, I will carry on your legacy. I will keep your work going." And he was very clear that he had the choice. He could have either stayed or moved on, and he decided to move on because he could do better things from the other side, and that was basically how he put it. And we all know he had been attacked a bit, he had been targeted. We are still convinced that that's where a lot of the cancer came from, for various things that he had been through. He, in March of 2023, was, quote, "cancer-free," and then it just came raging back. And so, again, we just really thought that he had been targeted. He was concerned about the information getting out there, and with him out of the picture, he felt it would be easier for that to happen. So I guess he's not concerned that anything's gonna happen to me, so apparently I'm okay, or he's taking care of me from the other side, so that might be
He
the
is.
case.
Yeah, I think we're far enough along into this now. I think you're safe.
I
And
think so,
Yeah.
yes.
you know, and I believe Sean was wrongfully imprisoned as well along the way, and I don't believe that's a coincidence. So I think it's directly related to the material in these books, and once you read the books, you understand why. They fill in a huge gap in history, and uh, kind of blows their cover. Them being the deep state, like
Yeah.
they can't keep this stuff secret anymore because it's all right here between these covers, right?
There's a lot of stuff in there they don't want people knowing, but it's in
Correct.
fiction form. But there's at the beginning of every book, it says everything in this book is true, but it's written in the form of fiction, so you can believe it or not, doesn't matter kind of thing.
And
Well,
and
and
you
Sean was a great storyteller, and he always felt that telling the story made things easier to understand. So it engages you. You engage with the characters, so you
Right.
become sympathetic to the characters, so it's much easier to learn.
right.
It absolutely is.
So I want
Yeah.
to give the audience an idea of what these books are. I'm going to read through part of that introduction so they know what this material is. Um, I won't read through all of it. I could, but I'm not going to. So, in 2009, after a phone call while attending Obama's inauguration, high end Century City based lawyers presented the author with a stack of leather bound personal diaries, the basis for the Sands of Time series. This only being done with ironclad NDA agreements that the author changed relevant names to protect his still living family and those active in operational projects. So, after decades of silence, this truly incredible real world history can finally be told, putting all the puzzle pieces together of dark science, black ops, visitor involvement, and secret government conspiracies that have baffled those seeking the truth for so many years, with many giving their lives and freedom to do so. So, and then it goes into, kind of Sean's story, but he was basically handed this information from somebody within the shadow government, the private sector, and I'm interested to talk to you, Melissa, about this man in the book. He's called Ted Humphrey. But did Sean? Did you do you know who Ted is? And
I
first
do.
of all, how familiar are you with the material in these books?
Very familiar. And yes, I do know who the actual real person is. I will not give it away because I can't either. Had been to this individual's house, and sadly, this individual did pass away in July of last year. But we don't want to give away. There are still family members. There is still a widow that is left behind. But yes, I do know who the person is.
Yeah, I just got chills when you said that. I don't know why, but I just got like an intuitive hit because he's a big name. I mean, he's a huge figure in the Black Ops community in the private sector. And I mean, the morality and ethics of what everybody was doing behind the scenes, that's questionable. But he was the guy. He was the go-to guy according to this material. He was, they were involved in time travel. And many of these, I think that was the biggest part of this. So what do you know about Ted. Can you tell us anything about him besides the fact that you knew him?
Very funny guy, surprisingly, I know,
Oh, yeah?
and imposing. I mean, physically imposing, but a very interesting individual. Funny, brilliant, absolutely incredibly brilliant, fairly soft-spoken, and when we were at his house, I kinda hung out with his wife a little bit, didn't really pay that much attention to him, he just seemed so normal. Just kind of an everyday guy, of course, he was retired at this point, but just kind of an everyday normal guy, and I didn't realize until later, put 2 and 2 together that, "Oh, this is a guy." It kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I think I was just a little overwhelmed and surprised about who he really was and what he meant to the advancement of everything, like you were saying, time travel, uh, Dulce Archuleta, just everything that he had been through and done, he still just seemed like a normal guy.
Yeah, which is probably why he was in that position.
Right.
It takes a very unique personality to do that and carry all that weight. So, what did this look like for you? Sean, your husband gets these diaries, and now he's left with a decision to make. How is he going to release this to the public? And what were you thinking when all that happened originally?
So originally, I didn't know any of it. So he had gotten the call. He just said, "I have some meetings." It's like, "Okay," he would go do his thing. Sometimes I would go do mine. And it was a couple years. He sat on the diaries for a couple years, really, I believe, kind of digesting how important it was what he had been handed and how was he going to bring this information out. And like I mentioned before, with him being a storyteller, he felt that novelized nonfiction was the best way to do it. And he spent a couple years thinking about it, putting it together, and then once he started writing, it really did start to flow for him. But for
Right.
the first couple years, I didn't know anything about it. Now, I have not seen the journals. They actually, before he, I think it was about 2017, he did send them back to, I almost said his name, and back to Ted's wife. So I do not have their journals. But he had already written most of the final 2 books, which I do have. I do have the text, I do have the writings of the final 2 books.
And okay, so for somebody who doesn't really know this story, from your perspective, what would you say is within these books? And what story does it tell and how important is it to the collective?
Absolutely. It really lays out the entire history of Black Ops, the shadow government, which we know is there, but it is the proof that it is really there, that we have been lied to, that we have been, again, lies and continuing even, Epstein files, everything that's happening right now, how much the government actually does lie to us. And thanks to your shows and for everything that's going on, alternative media, we're finally being able to get out there, and conspiracy theorists, we're always proven right in the end. We may be laughed at, we may be ridiculed, but we are correct, and mainly because we question. And that was one thing that Sean was so good about, was just question everything
Mhm.
and taking in a huge amount of information and then paring it down to where we could understand it. And that's really what these books have become, is all the different races, alien races, the shadow governments, the conspiracies, everything he was able to put into these books.
Yeah, I mean, it goes deep into it, and the politics behind it, and the infighting, and the backstabbing, and not and, going behind actually creating a shadow government with no congressional oversight to even do these things and advance these technologies, and, keep people focused on UFOs while they're really developing time travel, which turns into this whole thing and how we traverse space, and it's like this temporal war. I mean, it's this massive game, right? And it really helps paint a picture of what we see now playing out in the political arena because you're like, "Oh, well, if you read these books and if that's all true, then, like, what we're seeing is complete theatrics, coming across the TV and the mainstream media." So, the real reasoning behind all this stuff is, I would say, probably a battle for technologies, time tech, and different factions, uh fighting with each other within the private sector. I don't think anybody really has control of the ball at this point. What would you say to that?
Absolutely, and even intergalactically, a fight for this planet. I don't know that everybody realizes how valuable this planet really is. Not only us as humans, but the diversity, the animals, the plants, the flora, everything. We really have become a battlefield to all these different alien races as well. And how do we protect ourselves when we don't really have that much technology? We're getting there, but our technology is nowhere near some of the other alien races. So that is what the shadow government is really for as well, is how do we protect ourselves from M51, from all these other areas that really want our planet.
Yeah, so okay, I'm going to dive into this a little deeper. Sean was interviewed quite a bit about these books. When we interviewed Sean, we didn't hadn't read the books yet. Had I read them, it would have been a completely different interview. But I'm grateful we got the interview that we did, and I'm grateful that he sent us the book to even put us on this path. And now here we are talking to you. So that's no coincidence again. But
Right.
what Sean would often I'll just say he would repeat himself a lot. He would tell some of the same stories over and over in the interviews, but with talking to you privately, you mentioned that there's things that he never really did get to. He knew so much more, right? And then there's things that you even knew that he would never share. So is there anything that comes to your mind that that you thought he should have been sharing that he wasn't?
I really think he should have shared more how much danger our planet really is in. That, yes, we see these lovely lights in the sky, we see the orbs, we see the various things, but we really need to know that they have such high technology. Basically, Star Trek, Star Wars, that's all real. They really do have those kinds of technology, and that we need to be aware and really, I don't want to frighten anyone because I hate doing that. I always like to be very positive, but that there's some really bad stuff coming down. And in 2028 to 2034, there's going to be a lot of things going on. And we really need to just get your ducks in a row, get your affairs in order. And again, I don't want to frighten anyone, but there can be some really nasty things that are on their way to this planet. And I
Right.
think that was his way of kind of preparing us a little bit without, again, he liked to be positive as well and not really scare a lot of people, but there's some nasty stuff out there. There's some very nasty races. And the final 2 books, The Draconian War, is laying that out a lot more. So I think because he knew he was getting towards the end of his life, he wasn't holding back. And I think I mentioned to you before, I've had a little bit of difficulty editing and getting through the final books, not only the emotional aspect of it, but it's freaking scary. There is some very frightening things in there.
Interesting. Yeah, and there's large part of this book talks about the Sumerians and or the Anunnaki and how they kind of had a stronghold over the planet for a long time. Maybe they still do. And the like the book six is the diaries about the Vril Dom and the Vril Society, and it's interesting because we don't really understand the politics of it, but it sounds to me like they were trying to create a craft that could help them leave the planet undetected because the Sumerians basically had the planet under quarantine, according to this book. And so they couldn't even leave. So they were developing this Hanabu in the 40s, 30s, and
Mhm.
40s that would help them get past their security, effectively
Correct.
slip out of the planet unseen so they could go back home because they understood what was happening here. But um,
And
I
yeah,
think
and that's basically it, that there has been almost a shield put around the planet to keep us from going beyond the moon. Elon Musk, of course, wants to go to Mars. I'm not sure we're ever going to make it or they're going to let us make it. There's so many things that have been shot out of the sky, even over Mars. The Pleiadians were here to try and protect us. They've pretty much left. I don't know if they've just kind of given up on this planet, that we become so wicked, so evil that they've just given up. And that's, again, thanks to you and to everybody who's doing all this alternative work, raising our vibration, raising our intelligence and technology so we can compete and protect ourselves from these races.
I would say they maybe didn't give up on us entirely because I know a lot of people who communicate with them, and I think
Same.
they're helping people on the individual level.
Right.
I don't think they can come in. I don't think they might not have much. They might not be able to sway our government, right? But
Right.
they might not have much pull there. But with individuals, you can start working with these individuals, and that ultimately affects the collective, which could have a very, very positive effect if people start taking it seriously. But Aaron, I've been asking all the questions. You've read the book. You've read the books too. Is there anything that you would like to know?
So the books kind of go through like Ted Humphrey, not his real name, but he's the guy who kind of stumbles into all this completely knows nothing, goes from knowing nothing, he's just like a smart guy basically. But then his dad, it kind of happens because of his dad, because his dad was a super smart scientist guy that was his whole childhood was like kind of absent, and he kind of like resented him for it because he'd miss all his games and not really he'd be like off in his shed, like
Yeah,
doing
it
all
took
this
him from
weird.
Santa Monica to Barstow,
Right.
which, oh
Right,
man,
moving
nobody
him
would
out to
wanna do that.
Barstow, and he's like, "Why did you do that?" Right? He like, moving out to the middle of nowhere in the desert, and then it kinda, like, inadvertently led him down this path of, "Oh, my dad was doing all this very important work, but he couldn't tell me, but now I'm kinda picking up where he left off." And then it gets into time. He basically discovers time travel essentially, um, and
But
then
it's
just
time travelers that help him discover time travel.
well, right,
Right.
right.
Yeah,
He
And that is
realizes,
that is
"Oh,
the weird
there's"
dichotomy of time travel to help you, but not, and then you have to do this.
right, and then he gets involved in the whole Black Ops community, essentially, and ends up becoming this big leader in it, and then it's like, "Oh, there's this whole galactic world universe out there that we have to deal with," and
Right.
there's threats there, and there's good and there's bad, and but we have to deal with it, and yeah, it's interesting because it did fill in a lot of gaps, like Tyler said, with, when you get into the whole ET UFO subject, it's there's so many different, like, levels to it, right? And there's so many different areas of it. There's, like, the nuts and bolts that just stay on the super superficial surface level, in my opinion, that, like, just keep spinning their wheels there because all they care about is trying to prove that UFOs are a real thing, basically, to, like, the greater and, like, they don't realize, like, who they're trying to prove it to doesn't care for the most part,
Exactly.
or is
And that
never
that
gonna
was
believe anyway.
that was something Sean would always say too, and I know you've heard this saying before, is you shouldn't be concerned that they're in the government, that they are the government. So
Mhm.
that's a lot of it as well, that aliens are not in the government, but they are the government.
Meanwhile, that's why you have to be a conspiracy theorist or a truther or whatever stupid term you wanna call it. It's
Exactly.
just like somebody that digs for the truth no matter what, basically, that wants and, like, digs for it. You gotta search for and then you realize, like we all have, that this disclosure's already happened, essentially. You just gotta look for it. You can actually connect to ETs yourself. You don't need anyone's
Mhm.
permission. You don't need the government to tell you something exists that you can connect to yourself. But like you said, you gotta raise your vibration, like, enough of us have to raise up to a certain level, get out of the Truman Show reality,
Mhm.
realize that's just fake, cheap plastic set that's been given to us that's like,
Right.
"This is reality, that's all there is." And it's like, "No, that's not it," and then we gotta get to a certain level, and
right,
then the governments only have power because we give them the
Give it to
power,
'em.
and that's
That's
what
right.
enough of us realize that we're gonna naturally take our power back, and then the system's gonna naturally change, to put it very, very simply, but that's what I think about it. So it's like
Mm.
we do have friends, I think, but at the same time, they're not gonna just do all the work for us. They know we have to learn our own lessons, and they're not gonna help us if we're not even helping ourselves, and if we're perpetuating our own enslavement, right? So we have to get to a certain level, meet them halfway.
right.
Right.
That was a very beautiful question, Aaron.
But all that to say, I think the thank you. I think the sands of time. Yeah, there's no question.
Well,
I think
here,
the
let's.
No, it was a great statement,
Yeah,
and
no, it
actually the
was.
the
reason
sands of time books do a beautiful job of like getting somebody up to speed on the reality of where we're at
it's
in
kind of a
terms of
primer. Yes.
in
Right.
terms of like a
Yes. Mm,
galactic reality and
right.
technological reality of where we're actually at on the planet. What's the most important takeaways, I guess, is my question.
Again, just that you have power, that you are empowered. Don't let governments bully you, don't and it's whatever is truth to you, whatever feels right in your heart. We can read books until we're, blue in the face basically, or Kindles or whatever. But if it doesn't ring true to you, then find something that does. Is it religion? Is it meditation? Is it UFO research? Whatever it is, it's what is important to you, what feels right in your heart. And actually, I was gonna go back real quick, so why I was kind of chuckling a little bit while you were talking, the first time Sean took me out to Area 51, there was a full-on red flag exercise going on, stuff flying all over the sky. There was 3 helicopters with an orb in the middle that would glow up, and I just went in my brain kind of vapor locked. That was really the first time I had seen one, and we're so beyond that now. It is just amazing how far we've come, and that was however many years ago. I'm not gonna date myself, but it is amazing that with all the technology that we do have with cameras, how can anybody question anything? There is
Right.
actual scientific proof. There is videos of, UFOs, of aliens, of cryptids, of ghosts, you name it. So we actually have scientific truth. It's not a theory anymore. It is actual reality.
Right.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree
Right.
more.
So, and talking about that, so within the pages of these books are equations for time travel,
Mhm.
and they get just kind of spill the beans. And if somebody, which will be a very small percentage of people, according to the books, that actually knows what they're looking at, gets a hold of these equations within these books, they might be able to do something with it. But we're talking like quantum physicist level. That
Right.
and most of those guys get, they get flagged and brought into the programs early on. They get pulled out of school or even out of childhood,
Mhm.
because they know who these people are going to be the ones making a difference, and they try to grab them before they can go out there and reveal this stuff to the public. So this book, it brings time travel to such a reality. And then it's funny, like they had us distracted with all these UFOs, which actually are flying time machines if you understand the
Mhm.
science behind them. But what do you say to, okay, if everything in these books is true and we're in this intergalactic, interplanetary war and there's all this stuff happening in this temporal war, what do you say to the flat Earth stuff out there? And because it doesn't fit in at all with this, if this is a true history, and that's what people don't understand. I'm like, I don't know if these people are actually reading books or watching TikTok videos and coming to their conclusions, but what do you say to that?
I do not believe in flat Earth. I do not. I just, again, and maybe that is just my opinion, but with everything and all the evidence, all the scientific evidence, I just don't see how it could be that way. And then again, that's kind of my personal opinion as well, and also a lot of the scientific evidence that it can't be.
Well, nothing in these books, if it's true, which it is, um,
Mhm.
it that nothing at all indicates whatsoever that we're living on a flat planet. In fact,
Right.
they talk about even some of the test flights that they would do with like the TR-3Bs and Black Triangles, doing the complete orbit around the planet. And there was there's science to the test flights and the patterns and everything because of the rotation of the Earth and the toroidal energy field and all that stuff. They have to factor all that stuff in. So I mean, there's all these things that they just don't get considered whenever we're talking about.
And that's how they slingshot around the planet to use it to sling them
Right,
out into around the sun and around various
right.
places. Yep.
Right.
So, okay, Sean, he must have been a very quick writer to get all these books out in such a short amount of
Yeah.
time.
I know. I was like,
Yes.
wow, how
Yeah.
much time?
He didn't sleep. He rarely slept.
100%. There, that would be why. There you go.
Yeah.
So, can you give us, you said that Draconian Wars is part of the next book, and what kind of gets into that. Is there a time frame when you think those might be uh, released?
My goal is to have him out this fall, at least book 8 by this fall. So it's pretty much done, and that's I'm he keep like I said, he keeps hitting me on the head and going, "Come on, get him out, get him out, get him out. Gotta get it done."
Fancy.
So, okay, so when you say you're in communication with him still, like, telepathically channel him, or what does that look like?
Correct. Medium intuitive, yes, intuitively. So I will do a meditation, basically open a channel, open a session, and let him speak to my mind, I guess, so telepathically, yes.
And so he's quite literally nudging you to get these books out, and I guess he feels that there's it's important to get them out sooner than later because of what's
Correct.
in them?
Yes, yes. He is concerned about the timeline that we are currently are on. So he definitely wants more people to learn as much as they can, so we can be prepared, and again, raising our vibration, raising our energy, and being prepared or being ready for whatever's next, whatever's coming.
Right. Okay, so going back to the story, something that popped into my head, oh my god, I can't think of the name of the AI, sentient, like, kinda like a what's her name on Halo? It's basically an AI component.
Uh,
Not
Cortana?
Cortana, it was
Cortana, yes, and
yes.
or Emma or
Yes,
Cortana,
oh, geez,
yes.
sorry about that. Okay, so that plays a big part in the books. He basically brings back this, sentient
Emma,
intelligence from another planet, right? And it doesn't have a form, so he builds this device to actually house its and he can communicate with it.
right,
And I believe that's probably the foundation for a lot of the AIs that
AI.
we're using now. What are your opinions on that?
I have actually kind of started using AI. I decided I better be friends with it. 'Cause I think Siri makes fun of me all the time anyway. I talk to text, messes it up, and then I she laughs at me, but no, I do believe there is a place for it, but it is something we really need to be careful of. We've all seen Terminator, we've seen all these
Yeah.
movies. I don't know that those are necessarily fiction. I think they're more of a warning of what could happen. So
Mm.
as long as we can possibly keep control of it or use it to our advantage, yes, there's going to be places for it, but I also find it rather frightening as well.
I I think it's more of a mirror where it's like, based on how you're using it and where you're at as a species as a whole, it's going to kind of somewhat mirror that, right? So I think that's how what I can tell, at least at this point, is like because I see people using ChatGPT or these different things, and it seems to mirror wherever the person, their energy, their beliefs, their assumptions, their intentions. It like kind of based on that, it kind of like is acts as almost like a mirror, right? That's what I've noticed. So to me, it's like it's almost like a self-fulfilling thing. It's like if we have a ton of fear, which unfortunately there are a lot of people still in planet
Oh,
with that,
yeah,
and then you're using and then you're trying to use it also as a control mechanism
right.
because you have a lot of fear, then it's gonna turn into a very bad thing. It's not gonna be good, right?
Right.
But if
Yeah,
you're in a healed, healthy state and then you're like using it in a healthy way, you know.
Well, I guess
that's a
I
good point.
I guess what my question more was, the specific technology in the book. So I'm thinking AI the whole time, but it's claiming it's an actual sentient consciousness that just didn't have a body, so they put it in this device, right?
Correct. That's
A
transcended the AI basically.
right, and
Yeah,
so
a
that
conscious
Yes.
being.
but
Correct, a conscious being.
but that would mean that our shadow government has been dealing with this for quite some time, and we're just now getting, a taste of it. But I wonder how much of a role that actually played in the decision-making process of a lot of the moves that are being made behind the scenes.
And yes, it would be because of the thinking, the computation that they could do so quickly, to do the very scenarios of what could happen in the future. And if you had a brain like an Einstein or a Tesla, wouldn't you want to try and download it? And is that possible? And that is a very interesting question that I've always had as well. Did they even have that technology back then that they could have downloaded somebody's brain or downloaded their thinking? And what would happen if we did have that?
So actually somebody's consciousness or their brain put it
Yeah,
into a device like a Tesla, and then just like you're talking to him still,
right.
if they
Which
don't
is almost what AI becomes, because you can actually talk to AI. And again, Aaron, you are correct. If you have good intentions, then I think AI is going to be on better or good. If you have bad intentions, it's going to pick that up as well.
Right.
So as far as time travel goes, like this is something that they call them time runners in the book. Just individuals that have these devices that can traverse time and space and go to the moon or wherever, if as long as they have the coordinates.
Right.
Um, and and maybe you don't even need the device. Do you think Sean got close to? Did he ever see that technology? Did he have any besides just his brief communication with Ted and handing over the diaries? Do you think Ted or Sean ever got to use or see that technology?
If he did, he didn't. I wasn't privy to that. He didn't tell me.
Okay.
The closest he got to time travel was with Dr. Fred Bell. Uh, Dr. Fred Bell and Sean were very close, and he built a time machine in his backyard in Laguna Beach, up in Laguna Hills. And the one time that Fred tried it, he was violently ill. And so Sean would help him, but he never did it himself. So if he ever did see this other technology, I was not privy to that. And I know there was quite a few things that he did shield me a little bit from, just I think to protect me as well.
Mm. So potentially he knew a little more than that he would tell you just to protect you. So
Correct.
interesting. And you said he would bring, I know he would bring groups of people sometimes to Area 51 and for these test flights and stuff. And people have these profound experiences. What kind of craft were you actually witnessing?
When I was there, there was the really high altitude ones flying across the sky, and then, as I mentioned before, the 3 helicopters with the orb in the middle. So it was most likely a plasma.
Interesting. And that was what year?
2003.
2003. And I wonder, I know according to the books, they've, taken basically the main operations from Area 51 to Utah, Kings Peak, Utah, which is interesting. I was just looking up, researching that site, and it's like a 16-hour hike just to get in, like, to this remote area. There's nothing around whatsoever, but it's a massive underground military base. Do you know anything about that?
I do. I'm actually sitting in Salt Lake City right now. I came back home, and I've made multiple trips out to Vernal, to the gate of Skinwalker Ranch, and we can get to that, to gone up into the Uintas multiple times and will continue to do more. So yes, I've really started to get back up into that area and look at it a lot closer.
And as far as you know, according to Sean and the material, that is an underground facility there?
Mhm. Correct. There's a lot of weird stuff in this state, just plain and simply. There's weird things. So maybe that's why I came back. So why not?
I
Come back
mean,
to the land of weird.
yeah, it's very possible, absolutely. And then you said you've been to Skinwalker Ranch. What did you experience there?
Yeah, just to the outside of it. And I had gone in, I think it was about 2007, 2008 with Sean, and we went into a field, public side. We did not trespass. And he saw basically kind of floating triangle portals. And I went a couple weeks ago, went to the same field, same area, and saw the exact same ones again. So they are either portals to other dimensions, to other realms, to other like I said, dimensions. But there's definitely a lot going on in that area, and it is right on the Ute and Ouray reservation. And last Saturday, I went out to a powwow, and the Utes, they were doing their powwow. As they were dancing and singing and drumming, a huge wind came up and just blew in, and I forgot to video it because I was so enthralled by just this massive amount of wind that came through. As soon as they finished their dance and their singing, it stopped. And so there's a lot of interesting things going on out in that area.
And you saw these triangle portals with your naked
Mhm.
eye?
Correct. Yes.
Really? And no
Well,
fl
okay. Naked eye, but third eye, basically.
Sure, sure.
Not
Well,
like how we're looking at each other, but yes, in the mind's eye.
yeah, I understand. I mean, there's a lot to see there. I mean, a lot of my experiences, I mean, this stuff is there, but that's how we perceive it, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
yeah, and I'm sure there's equipment out there that will be able to detect it in some capacity if you had it set up properly.
Yep, and I'm in the process of picking up equipment, so that's my next ventures.
So you're basically in what are you up to nowadays aside from the books and getting these out, which is I know at the top of your list, hopefully. um, you're also writing your own book. Can you tell us a little bit about that and then some of your own abilities and stuff you've been tapping into?
Absolutely. So the book that I want to work on is going to be either Echoes Through Time or Echoes of Time, so a little bit of a play off of his Sands of Time, and it is about a never-ending love, reincarnation, contacting our loved ones across the veil, uh, getting through grief, and that there is no death, and we know there is no death. But how do we get past that thinking, and how do we really embrace our loved ones on the other side, and also communication with our loved ones?
No, it's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. So you're in the process of that while you're trying to do these books, and that's a lot. That's a tall order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get bored. I need something to do.
Right. Right. I understand that. So then you have your your mediumship abilities and stuff. Like, how has that been coming online for you?
Very well. I've always had them, and I just set them aside for a while so I could take care of Sean and be a support to him. And now I'm finally getting back to my abilities, my talents, and what I've always wanted to do as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And totally into ghosts and paranormal and weird stuff. So I've got my EVP recorders and I've picked up some weird stuff and got the EMF detectors, all the fun things. So those are all the toys and scientific equipment that I will start taking out to Kings Peak and out to all these different areas.
Yeah, you're gonna have some time runners showing up. You're gonna be
Yeah.
Yeah,
popping
right,
in the
I
room.
don't know.
Well, it's interesting because it sounds like in the movie or in the movie, well, it should be a movie. In the
right.
books, um, the the devices were like an early form of what we would call a smartwatch. Now, that's what they eventually turned into.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those, or if you know anything besides what's in the books?
Yeah, basically what's in the book. So really don't know much more than what he did write about.
Okay. Yeah. So to me,
Yeah, I
it
wish I knew more, I really did.
yeah.
And I'm still going through, honestly, a lot of books, a lot of things. When I moved from Southern California to Utah, it just got overwhelming. It all went into a box, it all went into a storage unit, and I am now finally going through things. So there may be a lot more of his items and writings that I will discover and come across.
Right. Well,
It's
I
just
think
it was overwhelming.
right, and I
Yeah,
think these
right.
books are important enough to me when I was reading them. I was like, this information can't stay within these pages. It has to like we need to do videos on this. We need to talk about it. I've included it in presentations and webinars, even in my own book, referenced it, and I feel like not everyone is going to read these books. For one, they're kind of written camouflaged, and I mean
Mhm.
that it looks like a sci-fi story. It's literally in the fiction section. It's
Right.
but if you read the intro, it tells you like, yeah, this. I think he had to release it that way because you couldn't release it as nonfiction. Was were there any struggles there? Was that a conscious choice, or would they literally not let him release it as nonfiction?
He thought about releasing it as nonfiction. And again, he just felt that it was a little bit dry and a lot of the science, it was easier to swallow the pill with the story wrapped around it and
Yeah,
easier to digest for the general public, basically. For us, of course, we can read those kind of books and the technical issues, the technical things in it, but he really just wanted it to be a little bit more on the mass generations and mass public.
Yeah, which I actually think ultimately was a smart move, because it's engaging and it's
Right.
yeah,
activating, and I think that however he wrote that and the decisions he made in that process, I think that was all divinely guided. And there might have been a lot more truth to even the parts he added and embellished on and stuff than he might even, because if you can imagine it, they say it exists somewhere. So I think he was just tapping into this field of this
I think
whole
so.
entire, like the book helped him unlock the rest of the story, or the diaries helped him unlock the rest of the story, and he kind of filled in the blanks
He did.
and
And you can tell who he added. Our cat Shalou, that's just kinda added,
yeah,
and, he just threw in he had to put his own personality and information into it as well.
yeah. Oh, you know what? One sec. I got my computer almost just died on me.
Oh, no.
No, it's plugged in.
There's
Yeah, there's even, like, a reference to him. I remember at one part in the book, there's like, "Oh, this guy that," and it was, like, the stuff he had done. I can't remember exactly, but I just thought that was
yeah,
funny. He was like, "Oh, yeah," he had a little insert
right.
himself in there. That was cool.
exactly. Put
Well,
his personality into it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
he would make a reference like Ted would say, maybe I'll give this material to somebody crazy enough to release it someday,
Yeah,
which was,
Right, and then that
exactly.
too.
yeah,
Right, right.
And to be honest, I don't know if this individual really did go to USC. Sean did, and he loved his university, so, he
Ah,
threw that in, so
right,
nice.
again, he just put his own personality and him into it as well.
right. But
Right.
within all that is a lot of truth. So I
Yes.
just want the audience to understand that. And something that I wanted to ask you about earlier. These books seem to be not available on Amazon since he passed. Only
They are. They are back on Amazon
they are
now.
back on
Yes.
Amazon now. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good because they were very difficult to find, and there's copies going for hundreds of dollars and all this stuff. So, but besides Amazon, where else can they still get them on
They
StrangeUniverseRadio.com?
can. Yes, strangeuniverseradio.com. And all of his audio is up there, including the books. There's quite a few items of his up there. I am going to be rebuilding the website a little bit, have actually resurrected Strange Universe Radio as well, the podcast. So won't compete with you guys, but
Oh
actually
no,
going to start doing that again.
Please compete with us.
no competition. Yeah, it's
Complete different subjects, a little more feminine slant and a little more spiritual, but yes, so thank you
Amazing.
very much. So yeah, www.strangeuniverseradio.com and on Amazon. They are all up there.
Yeah, that's good to know because, they're still, like I know for a while, even typing them in online, like, you can't you're not they don't just pop up. I feel like they've been censored even online, so going to Strange Universe Radio, I think do you get the proceeds then directly
Yes,
if somebody orders them through there? Okay, cool.
and that will help the final 2 books too, so that help goes towards those, getting those taken care of. But
Right,
yeah, I think a lot of it's been kind of buried or been trying to be hidden, but we're still getting it out there, getting them out to
so,
everybody.
you said Sean was targeted. We know he was wrongfully imprisoned and, given throat cancer, we think. But in what other ways did you notice things, in ways he was targeted when he was writing these books?
There would just be weird he was being followed by a lot of different vehicles. Uh, CHP, California Highway Patrol, for some reason, would just pull him over and harass him for no reason. There was just a lot of weird things like that. He got his car impounded a couple times for no reason. It just seemed like it was harassment to get his mind or get his time going into other areas instead of spending the time writing the books and things that he should have been doing. So it was just kind of general harassment.
Mhm.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Right,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, it's a very simple tactic,
Mhm.
give
Yeah.
you car troubles, whatever, just frustrate
Correct.
you so you're not in the frequency that you need to be. I've experienced it personally, and a number of other people have who are on this mission and doing this work, and it seems to be have eased up. I think once you get to a certain point, either they know you're just not gonna shut up or, because 'cause they're not just overtly killing people anymore, because that would actually give it more credibility, so they find other ways to create these weapons that you don't recognize,
Mhm.
and, I think that's the whole name of the
And we
game.
know lawfare exists, and it absolutely does. Our own president went through it, so
Yeah.
we know that is
Right.
a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it just wastes your time, waste your money, waste your energy. So you spend all your time doing all this other garbage instead of what you really want to be doing or what should be doing.
Right.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
as far as who do you think in our current administration, do you think any of them, just opinion, have an idea of what's really going on with this time travel and stuff? Because everybody thinks Trump is a time traveler and Barron and all this stuff. So it's really interesting. Do you think there's a connection? Do you think they know more than they lead on?
I do. I think they do. I I'm a fan of Trump. Um, I just think he's got a lot of ego, which makes me a little concerned. But yes, I do believe he knows a lot more and wants to know a lot more and expose and open up a lot more so we know what is going on. And of course, there's other people behind who and he did this in the first administration, trusted others that I don't believe had his best interests or our best interests in mind.
Mhm. Well, it seems to be now that, we can look at this a number of different ways, and I don't wanna get into a political discussion, but
Right.
it seems to be that I think everyone's realizing that there might be someone else pulling the strings here, and, like, the people that go in with good intentions thinking they can release the Epstein files or do whatever it is,
Right.
they're realizing that this is a much bigger game than they thought, and there's still a lot of blackmail involved, and I think that, you know, if you really look at their expressions on their faces, these people, I think they found themselves in a situation that they weren't quite ready for, and there's still very much of an infighting war going on. You don't know who to trust, double, triple
Mhm.
agents. I mean, it's like the movies. It's exactly like the movies. They tell us, it's not just like
The
this.
great thing, right, exactly. The great thing though about what's going on right now is things are almost getting so insane and in your face that it's waking up so many
Mhm.
people to what the system really is, how it really works, who really has the power, what's really going on this planet for a long time. And again, I think it all that just serves the awakening even more. It's just like it's speeding up the awakening, even though it's everyone's all upset right now and like, oh my god, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what like this is horrible. It's like good. That's step one. Get
Yes.
get
When
there.
it
You're like
gets that ridiculous, yes. Mhm.
they say like the truth first pisses you off before
Mhm.
before the change happens. Well, we're at that like pissed off stage. We're
Yeah.
getting like, you know, so many people. It's like this rude awakening to like, oh my god, like you
And I
know,
think it's showing people that the system doesn't work.
and the
Correct.
system doesn't
Yeah.
work. We got to stop feeding into it.
Yeah,
You know, we got
Yeah.
to start creating ourselves and stop giving our power away to things that are not serving.
baby steps, baby steps.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
Tyler, to your point, someone like Trump goes in with really good intentions, and then he's almost assassinated twice, which is
Right.
just the point that, look, if you don't do what we tell you to, we can take you out. And
Yep.
so I believe you're correct. They want to go in and do something, but then all of a sudden realize, oh no, I can't. Or
Right,
there's all these other people, or maybe they're aliens or whoever is above them.
right. So,
Oh yeah.
Sean used to say that aliens are the government, or so. What
The
do you?
question should not be, are aliens in the government, but are aliens are the government? Something to that, I'm paraphrasing it, but yeah.
Right, right.
Right.
Would you say that these extraterrestrials are walking around in human form in our government? Are they shape shifting? Like, how are they staying hidden? Are they just pull the strings from an underground bunker? What in your mind? What does that look like?
All of the above.
Okay,
Because there are so many different races, there are some who basically look like we do. There are some in underground bunkers, Area 51, Dulce, wherever. And there could just be some that are they could be in the White House, they could be underneath, they could be pretty much anywhere, or are they off planet and they communicate?
right. Interesting. Yeah, I think so. I think all the above is true, and I think they're involved in so many different levels and so many different ways. We really there's not a simple answer for it. But the fact that we're trying to get disclosure from a disclosure about extraterrestrials from effectively an extraterrestrial government at the highest levels
Right.
is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's basically, China fights Russia, fights the United States. Okay, was the Andromedans and the Pleiadians, and so it's really no different to have different planets and different species than different continents.
yeah,
And of
that's
course, now China is basically, who are they owned by? Are they owned by a certain species or extraterrestrials or whoever? So it's almost corporate. It's all very corporate.
and its bloodlines. I mean, a lot of the races around the world, I think, stem from different extraterrestrial
Mhm.
races. And if you want to know what it's like to be in the midst of an alien, you can just travel the world and
Yep.
go spend some time with people in China or Mongolia or whatever. Somebody here has a very
Right.
different culture because it's so foreign, but you can still relate to the core universal truths. Like music is a universal language. Everybody can connect over that, but you can see the differences, but you also see the similarities and the commonalities. And I think it's not much different than if we were to go spend time on another planet with another race,
Mhm.
you know?
And like you said, music and mathematics, that is the universal language. And yes, Series A, Series B, there's all the different races here. We all came from somewhere.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Right.
So is there anything that I mean, I know this is your first interview in a while. Is there anything that you'd like to share or just get out and let people know about or talk about while you're here?
Sure. Just again, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. And just that there is hope. There really is hope. And yes, we watch a lot of the news. There's a lot of awful things going on, even planetary things going on. Weather, the floods. Just today, almost makes me want to tear up. The lodge at the north rim of the Grand Canyon was destroyed. It was lost. It burned down. I was there just last
Oh
month.
wow.
And there's
Mm.
just the planet, everything is just so out of balance. So it is up to us to bring it back into balance vibrationally, spiritually, and just emotionally. Just love everybody. If you open your heart, if you open just your see, it gives me chills. And just really try to love everyone, you will become more empathic. You will become more telepathic. Just we are all connected. We really truly are connected, whether we're on this planet, in the universe, with our angels, with our spirit guides. And just open your heart and listen. And whatever is true to you and whatever feels right to you, that's what's most important. And your
Mhm.
friends, your family, and again, we are all connected, so we are all family, we're all together, and we all want the same thing, and that's just love and joy and happiness. And that's my message to everyone. And I
That's
know that sounds kind of
Beautiful.
fluffy, and Sean used to say I have a Disney viewpoint of life, but why not? It
It's
is
the
the
truth.
happiest place on earth. No.
Hmm.
It's the truth though. That's
Yes.
it. It all
Yeah.
it all comes down to that. That's it.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. And I
Yeah.
I actually, I'm in Sedona, and we saw the smoke from the Grand Canyon fire yesterday, all day yesterday and last night, and
Wow.
I didn't know that it was the lodge, actually, I didn't know. So, um interesting. Everything right now, like you said, the floods and the fires and it can be viewed a number of different ways. Flooding underground bases, maybe because every fire was like, and the one in New Mexico was right at Kirtland Air Force Base, and
Mhm.
what we know about that is a dumb extraterrestrials,
Right.
so
Yeah.
is this an alliance effort? Is it a black hat effort? Is it natural? What's actually going on here? I think World War III was never going to be nukes. I think that's the propaganda. I think it's weather warfare, temporal war, things that we don't quite understand and we won't even recognize.
Correct. Is it destroying our food? Is it destroying our water supply? So then we're dependent on other areas. So again, weather modification, again, all the above.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I know I'm sure you're familiar with the Q Operation 17. I don't know how if Sean what was Sean's opinion on that? Do you know if he I don't know if he bought into that too much, but
Not a lot,
right.
actually. Yeah.
Right. But I'm surprised he didn't because the whole operation is like stemmed from it's a time travel mission
Mhm.
that would
It lines
effectively
up
it lines
well
up
with the sands
it
of time.
dovetails
It does
beautifully
yeah.
it dovetails
Right.
beautifully with the Sands of Times books, and when you read those books, I'm like, "Oh, this operation could actually be what they say it is, a time travel mission." So, I just didn't know, what your opinion was on
Yeah.
that.
Well, the last few years, unfortunately, he wasn't able to really research and do as much as what he normally would have.
Right. I mean, who knows? And not everybody
Yeah.
has to be on board with it, but I
Right.
just find it interesting because there are a lot of commonalities there.
And there's still like really picked up around the Trump attempted assassination last was that summer, end of last summer?
Yeah, July 13th of last year.
Yeah, so there was like all of a sudden there's all these Q deltas. The deltas are when like something on the exact date from years ago and a Q post would like happen and line up exactly like remember Tyler? Remember all the Q
Yeah. So, I
like
mean,
started again around that time? Like
that's
all these
only
Q groups kept
possible.
happening and they're still happening to this day.
They
Like
are.
again, I mean, they've probably been happening before, just not as many people were paying attention. But I mean, for the years in between, where like the early days and now, but it's like still to this day we keep having these deltas and these Q proofs and these things that are like, oh my god, how did they know in 2017, 2018, 2019? You know, exactly what's going to happen to the date, to the time, like all these little things that line up that you can't like. The possibility of a coincidence is like so astronomical.
Right.
It's impossible,
Right.
and that's even in a Q. Q would even say like how many coincidences till it's mathematically impossible, as
Right.
like a little wink, wink, you know, and then like
Yeah.
seeing these things. So there's, I don't care, you know, there's something going on with this whole Q thing. You want to, maybe you want to make an argument whether it's good or bad. Okay, fine, but you cannot argue, as far as I'm concerned, that there's not something well beyond anything normal going on with
Right.
the whole.
And they
Right.
oftentimes referenced Project Looking Glass and time travel
Right.
and a number of
Right.
things. So, and even what I found interesting is Q would talk about white squall, and white squall is a storm that pops up in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the day on a lake when it shouldn't happen on a lake.
Mhm.
And if you read the books, the white squall was basically a TR-3B landing over water, and it creates this storm, but the ship is cloaked, so you don't see the ship. And I'm like, so when Q was talking about white squall, and then I learned about white squall in these books, I'm like, oh, they're trying to say like they know what these white squalls are, and it's this
Causes it.
craft landing over, and then well, one of them apparently landed over this ship, and it caused the ship to sink, and like, and it might have been more of an attack. So
Right.
there's these weird connections you just can't ignore, you know. So
Correct.
anyway,
Yes.
we're going off here now, but
No,
Yeah.
that is
Tangent.
excellent points. Yes. And there are no coincidences, and we all know that.
Right.
right,
Right. I don't believe in coincidences,
I don't
period,
either.
at all. So
Nope.
there's also
Exactly.
that.
Me either.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah.
right.
So
Yep.
Yeah, there's so much to get into, but you know, the books are powerful, and like I said, I've referenced them a lot, and I will continue to do so. I can't wait to read the next two. I know they're going to be powerful, and you know, we might even take our time and go through the books and do a webinar and kind of break down like some of this stuff a lot more, do it a lot more justice when the time is right. You know, it takes a lot of time to research and go through those pages again, but
Mhm.
there's so much there. And, you know, time travel's real at the end of the day, and I think that's the name of the game here, and I think that's what these
Mhm.
books are trying to tell us.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
Appreciate it. Wow.
do you have anything, a website or anywhere people can reach you? Do you want to put that information out there or not? Or anything that you want to let the audience know about before we wrap this up?
Sure. Yeah, they can just reach me through the strangeuniverseradio.com. And then it is strangeuniverseradio@gmail.com.
Do-
So pretty easy. I kept everything exactly the way it was.
Okay, awesome.
So everything that he had, I just kind of took it over. So even his Facebook page, everything has just kind of become mine now. And so that's
Yeah.
the best way to reach me.
And he's still right there with you, so that's
He
amazing.
is.
he
Yeah.
is
Yep.
still. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, well, I know he's proud of you, and
Thank you.
I'm glad to see that you're doing so well now. And I know it's chaotic. You know, we were going to have you speak at the conference, but it was too soon. Yeah, it really was, and you were in the midst of a move and all that stuff. So hopefully things have balanced out. And you know, if you do need help with some funding for the next two books or anything like that, maybe we could see if we can do like a crowd fund or
Oh yeah.
GoFundMe type
Wow.
of thing. If you
Absolutely.
would need if you need that type of financial help, maybe we could set something up like that. Just keep it, let us know, and then I'm sure people that are watching this, so we'd be happy to donate in some capacity. Or if anyone listening now would like to donate anything, they could probably just reach out and email you. Um,
Absolutely.
so
And then anything, if they need intuitive advice as well, I'm happy to help with that as well. So a little different than time travel and UFOs, but also in the same realm.
It's all connected.
It
right,
is. It is all
Everything is
connected.
all. It's all. That's what I try to tell people all the time. I'm
Yep.
like, you realize this is all connected, right?
Exactly.
It's
Metaphysics,
all.
paranormal, it's all connected.
Yeah, because
right,
I remember somebody saying once, they're like, how did UFOs have anything to do with spirituality?" And I'm like, "Oh, you have no idea." I'm
right.
Oh,
like, it's all
It's actually
connected.
the
It's all
spirituality
connected.
that allows the UFOs to even operate. you
That's
know,
right.
Right. Exactly. The more
Correct.
advanced ones,
yeah,
at
they are
least.
more
Yeah.
advanced ones. Yeah, but
Yeah.
even
Exactly.
but all of them are more advanced. That's how it
Well,
works. You know
right.
what
Because
I'm
it's
saying?
all
Right.
energy,
Right.
It's all energy.
vibration and energy. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I encourage everyone to read these books if they haven't. It's quite a bit to get through, but you'll binge read them like you will a series. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll be hooked as soon as you
You'll
get
binge
into
read
it.
them.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Don't start them if you have to go to work the next day because you will be up all night. And
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Same,
It's like, I
right.
couldn't put it down. I haven't slept.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
it's been, like, an entire day just, like, basically reading.
mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I
And I'm
did.
telling you, like, it's so good. I there's very few book series I would spend, like, I don't know, $250 on to get to
Right.
get all 7 books. I was like, "Totally worth it. Take
Right.
my
Oh,
money.
thank
Totally
you.
worth it."
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
it's
Yeah.
also they're also like a history book too, right? And
Mhm.
I liked, I sat down and I think I read the first 3 books within like a month. Like I
Wow.
virtually sat down and read them, and it was January, one of the coldest winters in St. Louis. I didn't have much going on, and these books were just like cracking me open. And,
Wow.
and they were
Yeah.
actually, like, activating me, and I was having these wild dreams about, like, stuff that I was involved in that ended up in my book, and I think that there was some information between these, covers and these pages that I needed to hear on a personal level. I needed to understand. It helped make so much sense of some things and some memories that were happening for me, and I know for a fact,
Wow.
if just from talking to other people, it's doing the same for them. So they're activating, and they're activating for a reason because they resonate with truth. They ring true. Quite literally, your body understands that, your soul recognizes that truth, and it allows you to remember that stuff. So, um, if you don't believe in time travel, I argue, read these books and then come back after
Right.
that and say that
Right.
it doesn't
Exactly.
exist.
Yep. Yep. And like you said, it is a soul memory that
Mhm.
we absolutely have.
Yeah.
And we are not learning, we are just remembering.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
always what I
Exactly.
say. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think when something resonates and our hair stands up, we get the chills. It's because your soul is remembering that that is true. It's not like you're learning something new in that moment.
The
It is.
deeper
It
aspects of
is
Yeah.
you
our
know.
confirmation. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. This was wonderful,
Thank you
and
so much.
thank you for smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
You're just such a bundle
Sorry.
of joy. Yeah. No, it's amazing.
No, please.
It's amazing. Yeah, so I know you're continuing a legacy, and it's a big thing you're doing. And as insignificant as it might seem, sometimes it's impacting far more people than you realize. So
Wow.
you have our full support, because I know how this stuff is. Sometimes we question ourselves and you lose motivation, but there's a lot of people. It's changing people's lives quite literally, and changing the collective consciousness of the planet. Because as the more this information gets out there, it shifts a reality. So.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that. We often feel like we're an island and doing this kind of on our own, and it's nice to hear that. Thank
yeah,
you.
of course.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys all for tuning in. We love you. We can't do this without you. And until next time, have a great evening. Good night.
Hi, good night.
Literally the way of the heart, and that's the way of the future. So
They are the ones that guard this planet. They open portals, they close portals, and they kind of protect us as a whole.
We wake up and we're like, holy shit, I've been lied to.
And I'm going to explain how this works and why they want our souls so badly.
When I'm talking about what is possible, I mean as far as the secret space program.
It's like this is the future, and it is a part of this golden age we're moving into. There's no hiding. You can't hide this, So
your quantum body, bringing more back online, like as in reloading past lives, soul fragments coming back, dismantling implants.
It might be different star languages that might come through. And we're talking a lot about dimensional beings, and they're very highly telepathic. It's like looking around. It doesn't see us. It can't see us. I can see it, but it can't see us. It can hear us, and it knows something's going around.
But humanity does have a bright future, and I'm going to prove it to you beyond a shadow of a doubt.
The minute I came into their energy, I was like, this isn't a real human. Their eyes were different color. And so I do believe it was a clone.
This thing is going for sometimes years at a time on these missions. Is this thing going to other planets? And I knew that they wouldn't be able to respond, but I wanted to see their reaction because that was going to tell me. And it was good because she froze up, And she looked at the back of the room to her superior military guy, and then she looked back at me and she's like, "We can't talk about that."
And I can hear my higher self come in, and it's definitely my higher self, go, "Don't say a word, don't say a word, do not let them know who you are." And I began to leave my body at that point.
And it is biblical. I'm not a biblical person. I've never read the Bible. My family wasn't really religious, so it's just really interesting as I've been starting to get these updates, even through the Alliance, I'm discovering it is very much biblical.
When I got over there, a blue light come down right over me, and boom, I was on a ship. And I was looking at 6 people, 3 men, 3 women, and every one of them I looked at didn't seem very interested at all that I was there.